Right, so the next objection we have here, folks, is, well, how do I know that this company will last, will be here for a long time? So, folks, Lior, how would you handle that objection?
Well, I love this objection because, one of the first questions I ask is, well, how do you know that the company will not last? Do you have any evidence? Do you have any proof that has any basis for your question? A lot of times people ask this question just out of fear, because maybe they've seen other companies that have started and, they're not around for a long time, and, they wonder if this company will be the same thing. Well, why those companies were not around? We know that they were not around because of the problems in their business model, too much competition, wants versus need, and a lot of the other things that we talked about in previous webinars of this series. So, whenever somebody says, how do you know this company will last and be here for a long time? Well, ask them to give you evidence that it won't. And usually, when I say, well, how do you know that it won't? They stare at me and they say, well, I don't know. so there's no reason for them even asking you that question. And, again, a lot of times it's just fear. So peel back the layer of the onion and, try and figure out exactly what's behind that question and, let them know that, listen, this company's already been around for 10 years. So the fact that it's been around for 10 years, you don't have to worry that the company's going anywhere, because if it's already been around for 10 years, in this industry, being around for 10 years, you're probably set to be around for 100 years, all right? And how do you know that Gucci's going to be around for a long time? How do you know Louis Vuitton's going to be around for a long time? How do you know Chanel's going to be around for a long time? Well, they've already been around for a long time, and the reason they've been around for a long time and the reason they will be around for a long time is because they have a product that's a want, just like us. When you have a want, when people want your product, they will continue to keep wanting to buy the product. So all of the companies in the world that have products that are wants, they've been around for 100 years and they're not going anywhere. So that's not something that you need to even worry about in this company.
And, a great point there, Leroy. And just add to that 10-year is that, most companies that go down usually go down in the first 2.5 years, And so the fact that, we've already had 9 years says one thing. And in reality, the major breakthrough for a company is to go past the first 5 years, and, once you can go past the first 5 years, pretty much the company's going to be very stable. And the fact that we're now here at 9 years and we have so much media accolades, if it's been for 9 years, it's not going to go anywhere, as you just mentioned. And so, what's really amazing about this company compared to other companies is that, every other company usually has this sort of one main flagship product, the one main thing they're trying to sell. They might have a suite of products, but usually, there's a one main seller. And so in our company, it's a lot different because, you're not trying to sell one item for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And if that was the case, you already know that there will be a lot more other companies coming out with the next best juice, next best vitamin, next best shampoo, next best, toothpaste, whatever it might be. In our company, we have over 1,400 flagship products. And on top of that, our products are constantly evolving, every single month. So we constantly have new products. People constantly want a product. And so we don't have the same challenges that other companies have. And so, anything else you want to add to that, Anne-Marie?
Yes, thank you. Actually, it's amazing because just listening to both of you, I remember when Leor was here, he's mentioned, because like you said, people are talking from fear, and he asked someone, well, how do you know that you're not going to lose your job, right? How do you know that the company you work for won't go down? So I just wanted to add that in terms of question, because the rest, I just love how how you guys are handling it, because that's it.
And to add to that question, if you could make $1 million in your job in the first 5 years, would you care if it even went down after the first 5 years? And so, similar, even if you can make $1 million in this business in the first 5 years, then good for you. You're happy then. But again, this company has been around for 9.5 years, and really for the people who really, really want to know more about the company, I always tell people that, even huge companies can go down. For example, Enron and Nortel. And the reason why is because of bad ownership, bad ownership and greedy owners, and, they're playing with the numbers. And so, with our CEO, he's not doing this for the money. He was a multi-millionaire before even GWT. And so, but his main goal, is much different. He's had, Whole Renfrew, 2 years in a row come to him wanting to sell his fairy line at Whole Renfrew. He said, no, thank you. He was offered huge contracts from the U.S. shopping channel who wanted to sell his products there. He said, no, thank you. He was offered, millions of dollars from a large India company with over 325 stores wanting to sell his products. He said, no, thank you. So, our CEO's focus is not making money. His focus, his target, is to make his son the youngest multimillionaire of a billion-dollar company under the age of 25 on Forbes magazine. And that's one of his big targets. His other target is to change the face of direct sales. It's a red ocean, it's a battered industry. His goal is to change the face of direct sales. And so that's his target. So I think we've really pretty much challenged projection over here. On to the next one, which is, why did it grow so slowly? Leo, take it away, buddy.
Well, why is that even important for a company to grow quickly? Because we've seen in many situations, we've seen companies get, 10, 20, 50,000 people, 100,000 people in the first couple of years, and then you don't hear about the company anymore. So, I mean, if that was a good thing, then all of a sudden, all of these companies will still be around. So, it's our job to educate people and to let them know the best thing to do is to grow with a strong foundation to make sure that the company lasts for a long time. Not, what's important is not, how many people does the company have right now, but how many it's going to have in the future who are well educated, who have learned the skills. How many companies we hear about where all they care about is that people join and then they forget about the people and nobody makes money and then people leave. Well, that's not what this company is about. This company is about teaching people to become entrepreneurs, teaching them how to be self-employed, teaching them how to have a business. And so we provide people with those skills and trainings to make sure that they have a strong foundation to build a business for many, many years. I could very easily tell people, take the diamond package and in 30 days you'll make $1 million, and I would have tens of thousands of people in my team already. But obviously that would not be the truth. And that's what a lot of other companies do, is they, aren't truthful with people just to get people in, and they get all these people in and they leave a lot of casualties. So we don't do that here in GWT. We do it properly to make sure that when you start your business survives for many, many years. That's what it's all about. And so, again, when your prospect is talking to you about, well, why is it growing so slowly? Again, you want to share with them about Apple. Apple, sometime around the 70s and 80s, they were, ready to go bankrupt, ready to go out of business. Steve Jobs left the company, eventually came back. But imagine all the people who, when the company wasn't doing well, they said, oh, well, Apple's going down. Apple's not a good company. Well, right now, Apple's one of the biggest companies in the world, even bigger than ExxonMobil gas company. So imagine if you had invested in Apple back when it wasn't growing so quickly, and you held on to that stock and you didn't sell it, you would be a multi-millionaire today, as opposed to all of those people who thought that it was not a good thing that the company was growing slowly.
And, your amazing points, so just to add a few ones here, is that, again, I mentioned in the previous objection, which is that, we don't have just one flagship product that we have to go and sell, because we know that won't last for a long time. The company, when I got started in 2007, only had just, jewelry. Even the brand Fairy wasn't out by then. And so, for our CEO, Mr. Remy Mascarlu, his focus has always been, do it slow and steady, but make it strong. And so, that's why it took, 7 years to build these huge 1,400 plus flagship products we have today. He wanted to make sure that he does it proper with our amazing, a silver line, our amazing quality on the study that we have right now that I just laid him. He wants to make sure we have plank things. We want to make sure we have, it takes time to make these kind of amazing products like 19 karat gold and 21 karat gold that have the quality that we have. So, if most people had the vision that some people might have had back in 2007, imagine where it would be today. So imagine, 6 years from now, where this company will be again in the next 6 years. And so, And just more information for you guys, the company has about 25,000 LLCs and VIP clients, and more than half of that came alone from just last year to this year because, as of last year, we had amazing shipping solutions. We had a huge launch of a vast range of products, including Posh. And so, for most of my people who hear the story, they get even more excited to know that they're really one of the first few ones to be able to take this into their countries and own it as a whole entire market. So, it's really a good thing that people, when they ask this question, because when they ask the question, they hear the answer, they get even more excited about the opportunity. So, Anne-Marie, anything that you want to add to that really quickly here?
Yeah, thanks, Renee. Well, actually, I always bring back the peel the onion, right? So what do you mean by this is growing so slowly? Like, what would be better, that you're the first one to hear about it and share it to your friends, to your community, or do you want all your friends to bring it to you, right? It's too late. So obviously you want to be the first one, so it's always good, just like you said, it's the right, perfect timing to get started now versus waiting that everybody else come to you when it's too late, right?
Wonderful. All right. So on to the next, we have a whole bunch of options for today. So the next one we have is going to be, well, why do you think we have no competitors? And so really, folks, if you think about it, there's so many things here that make GWP so special. But let's let Lior together take away first.
Well, it's very clear to me why the company has no competitors, because because people don't have access to what we have access to. The owner and CEO of our company, Ramin Mizgarlu, his family has been manufacturing designer jewelry for over 120 years. I mean, how many people can say that they have access to a family that's been manufacturing for that many years? Not everybody. So, people would love to be able to create 19-karat gold and 21-karat gold. I mean, Gucci would love to be able to have products that we have. Chanel would love to be able to do that. Louis Vuitton, all of the other large designer brands look at what Ferry has and they say, my God, if we only had the experience in manufacturing that they do, because those brands are not manufacturers, they're marketing companies. They don't understand how to do what we know how to do because we are the manufacturer. So they are looking at all of the stuff that Ferry's creating, wondering, how can they possibly do such a thing, but they can't because they don't have that kind of knowledge and experience. And I mean, Ramin's family, they manufacture for some of the largest designer brands in the world. They don't need to take on any new clients. So you can't just go to Ramin's family and say, make this stuff for me. They don't need any more business. They already make a lot of money. So why did they decide to do that with us? Well, because of the relationship that Ramin has with his family. So we should be very grateful that we even have this opportunity, and you really need to have your prospects understand that, they are very privileged that you are even sharing this with them, because you could choose not to share this with them and share it with somebody else, and that person will benefit from everything that the company is doing, because of what we have here. So, there's many differences between, many differences and many reasons why we have no competitors. One of them is that it's very expensive to do what we do, to have the facilities, to have the research and development, to be able to spend millions of dollars on experimenting with gold and diamonds. That, to build the facilities, that'll take like $500 million, even more. How many people are willing to take that risk? Well, again, our CEO and founder, Ramin Mizgarlu, is a competitor. He was a wrestler, world champion, won 130 medals in wrestling. His vision is to create the #1 designer brand in the world and to dominate and conquer all of the other designer brands. So he's willing to spend that money. He's willing to experiment and think outside of the box. And plus he has his family's knowledge and experience. Other people, they don't have that. So we have not had competition in 10 years just because it's not possible for people to create what we create, to be able to do what we do, and we will never, ever have competition, not only in the direct sales world, but in the whole jewelry industry in the world. Why has nobody done it in the last 10 years? Because it's not possible. If it's possible, somebody will do it. But the fact that nobody's done it means that we're the only ones that can do it, and I am very grateful to be part of this company for that reason.
Wonderful. Amazing points there, Leo and Marie. Anything to add to that as well, too?
Yeah, thank you. Well, exactly. And if other people could do this, they would. It would have been out there already. I mean, this, just like Lior said, I just love it. I mean, this company has family and heritage for over 130 years. You know, they created as high as 21 karat gold that's hard enough, like a 14 karat gold, hard enough to hold a diamond. Like, that's never been done before. This company is a high profit margin, and when you hear other companies that are doing direct sale out there, they could never go higher than their sub jewelry because they don't own the manufacturing, they don't have that background, that heritage in the family, and in terms of like network marketing or MLM, other company and competitor that way, if you think of it that way, well, again, we don't have anybody because we don't have ranks, we don't have level, we don't have the barrier that stops from people from making money. We have very, very high retention and so many other points that makes it that for any other company in terms of MLM, there's no competitor, and in terms of other direct, in terms of the product, well, nobody can come up with that high of a product. So because of that, again, people that have tried to do it and they're trying to go all around, they're coming up with only sub-jewelry, so nobody have and will be able to, otherwise it would have been done already. Because once it's out there, people will try and they'll lose out a lot of money. So that's why we don't have competitor.
You know what? I mean, I personally listed it myself before because my last direct sales company was a travel-based MLM company. You know, it was copied in the first 6 months, and so most of you people might just leave you to go to the next latest and greatest. And so, I think the whole point here, folks, is that if it could have been copied, it would have been done by now. And again, there might be other jewelry companies in direct sales like Stella and Dot and Philopatia, and but unfortunately they don't have any form of passive income. And so, what's great about GWT is that yes, we are here and we can actually make great retail sales, but the powerful thing about GWT is the ability to build an organization, launch more BDMs, and make passive residual income. Because I don't want to be selling retail for the next 50 years, and if I stop doing it, then I'm making money. I will be able to build a distribution of people that pays me passive income that can take a vacation for a month or for a year long if I wanted to. And so, the fact that of the 90 million people we have in direct sales, all these people belong to, companies, and of all those companies, we're the only one that does what we do. So that's what is so beautiful about life here at GWT. So on to the next one we have here, which is going to be, well, why are your products special? Why would people buy Fairy and not Gucci or LV? Kind of covered that before, but here we go again. Leo, take it away, buddy.
Well, it's very, very simple. Gucci, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, they don't pay you to wear the products, So, we have a lot of people in this company that have actually stopped wearing other brands because it doesn't make sense anymore for you to wear the brand of another company and walk around with a big logo of that brand, and you're making that company a lot of money, and that company's not paying you. So the world is changing now. People want to get paid for making companies money. And so Fairy is the only designer brand that will pay you to wear and promote their products. Now, with that said, we're not trying to replace Gucci, Chanel, and Louis Vuitton because we know that people don't just buy Gucci, people don't just buy Louis Vuitton, and people don't just buy Fairy. They buy all the brands. People love brands, and forevermore people will keep buying designer brands. That's why Gucci and Chanel and Louis Vuitton have been around for a long time, and that's why Fairy will be around for a long time. And all of these brands will be around for a long time because people want brands. They want to buy as many luxury designer brands as they possibly can. So, people expect to get paid for it now because they're tired of wearing products of brands that don't pay them. So that's the biggest reason and the biggest difference between those other brands and Fairy. Another big difference is simply the quality. I know that our CEO and founder, Ramin Mesgarlu, when he goes to his family or other large manufacturers around the world to create our products, he tells them the quality that he expects, and they look at him like, this guy's crazy. Nobody asks for the type of quality that he asks for. Why? Because the higher the quality, the more expensive it is, and the less profit that the company makes. Well, a lot of designer brands, they want to make a lot of profit, so they don't care about the quality, and that's why a lot of the quality out there in the world is very poorly made. But because Ramin is so focused on providing high quality products to us that we can have beautiful products to wear, he'll take a little bit less profit, but he knows that the quality of the products he has are the best in the world. And, it starts with the high-tech ceramic of our timepieces. They're not grade 4 like other companies are. We have grade 1. They're not AA CZ like other companies have. We have AAA CZ. So again, if you do some research on our quality, you will not find any other company that has the type of quality that this company has. So, that's why our products are special. They're high quality, unique, beautiful, and most importantly, we get paid to walk around and promote and share the brand with other people.
Wonderful. And Anne-Marie, anything to add to that as well, too?
No, VR has said it all. This is amazing because exactly. I mean, if you had a chance to buy a Gucci, a Louis Vuitton, and get paid for it, would you? Of course you would. Well, here, unfortunately, you can't, right? Because they don't have that program. But with Fairy, they do. So combine that with the quality. I mean, this is amazing. You can get paid to wear a designer brand, wear and promote it all around, and have fun with it. So.
And just to add to that, most other amazing, profitable brands out there will never go into a direct selling platform because, their owners are usually, want to keep the money to themselves. They don't want to share the money with you. Whereas with our CEO, his focus is to scale up millionaires, indirect sales to this designer brand. And so, in short, folks, why are your products special? Because you can't find them anywhere else. While people buy Fairy and not Gucci LV because you get paid for a Fairy. So very simple. And on to the next objection.
Brands are, there will always be people who have not heard of the brand because there's 7 billion people in the world, and it's impossible for everybody to know about everything.
Wow. Okay, Anne-Marie, anything else to add to that as well?
It's hard to say anything on top. It's amazing. Lior, you're on it. He's rolling.
All righty, well.
Give me the next one.
No one has heard of Fairy. Well, lucky for you because it's your chance to make a lot of money in that case. So, all right, on to the next one. Here we go, which is what makes GWT different than other companies? Again, I think we've already killed this one out of the park before. Right, guys? We covered this.
I agree. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, that one we covered in all of our previous conversations here. The next one, which is, but your products are expensive. My country is special. Can't afford your products. Okay, here we go again. Lior, take it away.
Well, this is a really funny one because we have products that start at $18. So I don't know any country that can't afford that. So, a lot of people say that for a few different reasons. Probably the main reason that I hear your products are expensive is because, first of all, we're a luxury designer brand. So people think that if you're a luxury designer brand, your products must have luxury prices, right? Well, a luxury designer brand doesn't always have to have luxury prices. Luxury just means that you have high quality, beautiful products that everybody wants. That's what luxury means. But a lot of time people relate luxury to price. And so it doesn't have to be that way, especially in our case, because our $18, $20, $50 items are luxury. They're beautiful. They're high quality, but they're not very expensive, all right? So luxury doesn't have to be expensive in our case. So that's the first thing. The second reason that I hear people say that our products are expensive is because they go to our website, they click on Fairy Mosh, they see our top-of-the-line highest-end items starting at $3,000 and $150,000, and they're like, well, who's going to buy this stuff? Well, yeah, obviously those are not products for the average person, but what they completely miss is the Fairy and the Posh lines. And the Fairy and the Posh lines, those are the $50 items, the $100 items, the stuff that people can afford, but they don't see that part of the website, so they just assume that GWT only has, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 items. Again, it's our job to question people and to educate them. So the first question I ask is, well, why would you say that our products are expensive? Because first of all, our products start at $18. Were you aware that we have products that start at $18? And the answer I get most of the time is, I had no idea. Okay, so again, they just didn't see those products on the website. So again, with regards to this, it's just educating people on what we have, because usually it's just an error in judgment.
Absolutely. Anne-Marie, anything you want to add to that as well too?
Yeah, actually, this is an objection that I've run into a couple of times now, and not this directly about the products, but more about the package, because people in another country will say, well, I cannot afford any of these packages because of the conversion or things like that. But then what I bring up is like, well, first of all, if you cannot afford this, then you need it, right? But I will always bring it back to, and that's again in terms of package and getting started, to, well, if you can make $500, now look at that as a conversion, like $500 Canadian, how much would that be in your money income, your conversion, right? So, usually that really make them realize that the investment is a lot cheaper because they can make a lot more. And in terms of the product, just like Lior said, like make sure that your people know that they can buy as low as $18. Even the fairy, like I had a set of earrings that people thought they were like $300. And I always now bring it up, like people think because it's a designer fashion house and in luxury, yeah, it's higher, and it is higher end. It doesn't mean that we're going to have to spend the big money. And I show them these particular earrings are only $98. And literally people's mouths drop because they don't know. They only know what they think, but they're not educated, again, on the real price around. So make sure that everybody knows where to go when they go on your website. Otherwise, they'll click on Fairy Mosh and then they'll never buy because unless they need the Fairy Mosh, right? So that's basically
Awesome.
where I take it.
I really think that this objection here, folks, in some cases you might want to do what we talked about in the first training, which is to peel back the layers on the onion to find out what's really the cause. Because is this question in terms of more about, is it them thinking that they can afford it, or is it them thinking that their market can afford it, or is it them thinking that the packages or something is too expensive, right? So, usually if it's them thinking that it's too expensive for themselves, again, aside from everything that you've already heard about Posh being from $18, is that, you don't do business from the consumer point of view. You do business based upon the market point of view. So the reality is that people, because you might think it's expensive, but to your market, they might think it's very, very affordable. You don't even know until you try, right? And so, and again, because we do have the ability to give discounts, whatever it is, but the main thing is that people actually want our product. You're not selling an item that you're trying to force someone to believe that it can help them grow their hair or help them lose weight or help them cure cancer, right? It's something that they just look at and they'll want it. So how do you know until you try? And of course, the reality is that it doesn't matter what type of friends you have, rich, middle class, low class. We have products to match all ranges of prices. And so, and I love how you said it, Anne-Marie. If you think you can't afford this, then you seriously need to have this business, because if you can't afford $18 earrings, then oh my God, you need to get yourself a business because your life is not going the right way. And so I think I'll get the point here. Okay.
One more thing that just to add to that, Renee.
Please, go ahead.
One really quick way to kill this objection is to say, well, did you know that Nigeria is our fastest growing market right now, and we have people in Nigeria making $40,000 a month. So if this can work in Nigeria, I guarantee you it will work in your country.
And, I think the key as well is how you first react. Someone said to the I would say, are you crazy? We have some $18. And instantly they're like, oh, I didn't know that, right? So, but wonderful, wonderful. Again, thank you so much, guys, for adding your thoughts here. And on to the next one, which is going to be I make a lot of money. I don't need this. Wow. Okay. So I mean, I don't know how often you actually meet someone who would say this, but for me, because I understand what it's like to make a decent amount of money, which is as a late Jim Rohn once said, if you can and you have the ability to, then if not for yourself, do it for others. If you have the opportunity to do things that can help others in this world, then go and do it. And so, I mean, I know a lot of wealthy people out there. I know a lot of millionaires. I know a few billionaires. And the reality is that they don't really help anyone else but themselves. And for me, that doesn't, I mean, I would rather make $1 billion while helping 1,000 others become millionaires than make $1 billion all by myself. And so, for more of the wealthy people, they always want to have tax savings. So we've had actually someone that I know who's actually really wealthy in the Alberta market who pays a lot in taxes. So does it help to have another business to get tax savings? Absolutely. And so, but if they're at the point in time where they really don't need it for themselves, or even the tax savings is very unlikely, then hey, why don't you, you have the choice, you have the ability, why don't you help the world out there, but that's what I would say. So Lior and Anne-Marie, any thoughts there?
Yeah, go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Okay. Well, thank you. A couple of things. Like, first of all, remember on part 1 and 2, we talked a lot about peeling the onions. We talked a lot about the feel, felt, found, and stories, and then finishing with a question: what if, would you? One of the things here I'd say, if somebody comes to me like, well, I have a lot of money, I don't need to do this. I'd say, of course, you're very successful. I mean, that's why I'm talking to you. I wouldn't have made this important to talk to you if you weren't already doing well, right, doing so well. So because here's the thing that I know about the successful people is every successful person I know are looking for ways to increase their cash flow. And you're a person of influence or you're a person of power, and you can certainly leverage your influence to be able to create additional cash flow. So if I were to show you a way that wouldn't take much of your time, that you have already available in a system that will make you comfortable, would you be ready to take a look a little deeper, of how you can have more into your life? That would be the type of feel, felt, found story that I would bring with a question at the end.
Very good points, Anne-Marie. And, one thing that I would add to that is that, in order to have freedom in your life, you need two things. Money is one of them. The second one is time. You might be making a lot of money, but are you enjoying your life? Are you doing all the things that you've always wanted to do, or are you just collecting money that you can't take with you when you leave this world anyway? What good is money and making all this money if you don't have the time to enjoy it? And that's one of the beautiful things about global wealth trade is not only does it give you the ability to make money like you're currently making, it also gives you the ability to make the money passively through residual income, so that while you're making the money, you can live your life and do all the things that you currently can't do because your business actually owns you and you're so focused and busy trying to make all that money.
Wonderful, wonderful, guys. Again, thank you so much for these amazing secrets you guys have. And, of course, we have about another 8 minutes here, so let's move on here to the next one, which is this MLM/network marketing? So, Lior, I know you have a funny one on how to handle this, so take it away, my friend.
Well, the first question I ask if somebody says, is this MLM network marketing, I say, well, is that what you're looking for? And if they say, no, I say, great, you're going to love this. And if they say yes, I say, great, you're going to love this. All right? So, we don't know what's behind their question, right? I mean, if somebody says, is this MLM network marketing, maybe that's something they're looking for. Maybe that's something they're not looking for because they have a different impression of what it is and an incorrect assumption about what MLM and network marketing is. So if somebody says, is this MLM network marketing, and I say, is that what you're looking for? And they say, no, I say, great, you're going to love this because it probably has nothing to do with what they think that MLM and network marketing is, because we're such a different company from all the other companies out there. So, that's a really easy and simple way to answer that objection. And again, peeling back the layers of the onion. So another thing you could say is, well, where is that question coming from? Did you have a negative experience in the industry before? Were you a part of other companies? What happened? And then when they give you their answers, then you can let them know how, our products are different and our company is different, and how whatever experience they had is not the same experience that they're going to have here, okay? Because, just because they had a bad experience somewhere else doesn't mean they're going to have a bad experience here. Just because you go to a restaurant and the food is bad doesn't mean you stop going to restaurants, right? Just because you get into a relationship with somebody and the relationship doesn't go well doesn't mean you stop getting into relationships, right? So again, it's just having people understand that, it's okay to have bad experiences. It's okay to make mistakes, because from those mistakes you've learned something, and now you can use what you've learned to take you into the next opportunity, and hopefully the next opportunity is a great opportunity which will actually allow you to use the skills that you've learned in other companies and opportunities, so that you can finally be successful. And so, a lot of times if people have had bad experiences, they can use those skills that they've learned from those bad experiences to be successful in GWT, because we don't have the problems and the issues and, the barriers to making money that other companies have.
Fantastic. Anne-Marie, anything else you want to add to that?
I say exactly the same question, so it's exactly the same thing.
Right, and really this question here is more, again, it's very high level. It's not the direct objection. Your job is to find out, peel the layers of the onion and find out the core reasons, and of course, and find out what's really on their mind. So, and of course, we've handled anything that could possibly come up from this question. We've pretty much already handled in the first two webinars, or the beginning of this one over here as well too. So, okay, move on to the next one here, which is going to be MLM doesn't work. Tried MLM and it didn't work for me. So again, very similar again here. Sounds like they have a story, and you want to say, wow, it sounds like you have a story. And this one here again, it's not the direct objection, because you should ask, well, what do you think was it that didn't work in your last MLM? Do you think it was the company itself, or do you think it was you? Because I can guarantee you that people who came from another MLM, there was people in that company who were successful, right? I'm not saying that it's not the company's fault, because we already know from the training that the company's product and the comp plan has a big impact. But but I want the person to think about, well, what didn't work? Was it me, or was it the company? And so what you'll find is that people start to explain to you what it is that didn't work. They'll start to tell you things that and whatever you hear that is about them not doing it properly, you want to make sure you help them understand that they just weren't working the business properly, or explain to them why it would be different here at GWT. So one thing I have to ask people is, well, what didn't work in that company? Was it you, or was it the company? And so anything you want to add to that, Leo and Anne-Marie?
Yeah, basically what I was saying. If I have a girlfriend and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean I stop, looking for people to get into a relationship with, right? You learn things and then you move on, right? And so, you were with another company and you tried it and it didn't work for you, but it doesn't mean that the industry doesn't work, and it doesn't mean that the company doesn't work. Maybe what it meant is that you weren't willing to learn the skills that you needed to learn in order to become successful. So it's very easy to blame the company. It's very easy to blame the industry, but it actually takes something to look inside of you and to say, you know what, I probably didn't do what I needed to do in order for it to be successful, in order for me to be successful. So, and sometimes it's not that MLM didn't work for you, it's that you didn't work. Sometimes people expect to sit on the couch and watch TV and make $1 million even if it takes them all weekend. Well, we all know that nothing is going to happen if that's your mindset. So with the right mindset, anything's possible. With the wrong mindset, nothing is possible. So quite possibly, it may have been your mindset. And, we will teach you. We have trainings that teach you the proper skills to be successful here. We have webinars, we have a Sunday night webinar. We have a Tuesday night webinar. We have a My5 support team. So let them know all of the trainings and let them know their support team and let them know success stories and testimonials. Give them all of the things that they actually need to be successful in MLM and network marketing and direct sales, because we have all of the tools. And talk to them about Forensic Networker. Talk to them about how it is the only generic direct sales training system in the world that people have used to make millions of dollars, and how they will have access to that system when they get started with us, so that they don't have to have the similar negative experiences that they had in other companies because they just didn't receive the training that they needed to get.
Wonderful. Anne-Marie, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, I'd ask the question, right? Exactly like everybody said, you need to peel that onion. You need to find out what's the story, what happened, right? And then they will let you know, well, the company went down, or whatever they're going to start telling you, that's what you need to work with. And then you can ask them the question, do you really think, what do you really think is the reason that you didn't become successful? I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. I want to know more. What happened, right? Do you think it's, do you think it's the company, because the company is still out there and creates